They're definitely a top-tier team. Of course, we're in our last finals here in the Oceanic region, and Avant managed to actually topple them last time. Of course, things are a little bit different now, and the Direwolves now with first pick over on the blue side going to be banning away the Thresh and Maokai first, and of course, Perfection getting aimed using that Hecarim.
Bring out the Hecarim. It was the Perfection Lissandra that won the MVP for our first game of the night. Be interesting to see how many bans Perfection absorbs this series. As people are trying to target ban him, feel like he has enough champions that he can weather 3 bans and still put out a very impressive performance.
Well, I mean, we're only in, what is it, week 5, and he's played 7 unique champions. I think he's only played 2 champions more than once. It's absolutely ridiculous. Perfection is pretty good at having multiple champions on the board. Of course, oh my goodness, the Respect Victor ban coming through onto Sharp. And I was inspecting his match history just recently. There's a lot of green in there, and a lot of it is Victor as well. Victor for victory, something like that. Scion's going to be banned away as well. Porky not going to be playing that one. Of course, an incredible tank player, and his Maokai also being banned away. And Soul Strikes not going to be playing the Rek'Sai, and Soul Strikes back on the roster.
Yeah, Soulstrike didn't get to the first game, but will be playing in this game. Has looked so good in the jungle. And look at this pickup. The Morgana, I believe it was banned away from Direwolves last time. They love to play this both in the mid, the top, and the support position.
Yep.
Such a flexible pick. Gives away nothing about your comp, and potentially can open up one of those hyper carry pickups from King.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. We could see some sort of Juggermore pickup here. Of course, King, one of the AD carries here that has picked up that Kog'Maw. I believe Radiant's done it as well, but of course, King on a hyper carry like that, terrifying work. But this is going to mean that Misui does have the opportunity to pick up his Corki, which is very important.
Absolutely. Getting a bit of lane power from the Corki can be important. I'd like to see the Lulu takeaway here just because, again, Morgana, Lulu, hyper carries flow so well with those first 2 picks. So just taking away the Lulu, another flexible pick, I think will be important for Avant, but maybe they're going to really value the Corki Lissandra duo. Taking this away, these are 2 champions that were played by Direwolves in their victory earlier. Just takeaways from Avant.
Yeah, making sure that Perfection isn't going to be on that Lissandra again. Of course, he can play the Morgana, has played it once, Sharp's played it once, and of course, Chuff has played it once as well. So all 3 of them hopping on that champion, seeing how it works. Of course, Sharp not with as much success, and neither with Perfection, so Chuffer, we'll see whether he continues his 100% run on that champion.
And I'd be interested to see whether they opt into a Morgana versus Lissandra matchup wherever it is on the map, Atlas, of course. You have the Black Shield as an AP Morgana, going to be fine for dealing with a lot of what's coming out from Lissandra and her bursts. So maybe just going to hold on to that pick and wait to see what lane Lissandra will be opting into.
Yo, that's the thing. It's so flexible as that pick. King thinking about a potential Kalista here. Has brought it out a couple of times with mixed success.
Has the Morgana already, so negates perhaps a Vi pickup from Chelby, someone who loves to pick up that hard engage from the jungle. But they're still considering their options. No need to lock into anything this early, but it might still be the Kalista.
Yeah, and Soul Strike's going to continue playing only 2 champions here in the OPL. As his Rek'Sai's banned away, looks like the Jarvan's going to be the option here on 5.4 with a little bit of a nerf, but still pretty good in that jungle is the Jarvan.
And Soul Strike's Direwolves on the blue side previous game actually had to ban away the Rek'Sai because they didn't have Soul Strikes on the lineup. Now, of course, he eats a ban, so the Respect ban coming through has been so powerful on that champion. Defaults to Jarvan. Saw a couple little nerfs. Of course, the armor removed from his flag ability on this patch, but still, those ganks from level 2, the uncleansable CC, still so powerful.
Yeah, that's true, and you can see some power picks coming through now for Avantgarde. That could be Kensti picking up the Lulu, the only member of the team that's actually played that one before. Actually victoriously in the last match that Kensti picked that one up, so we'll see how this is going to work. Of course, not going to be necessarily that Raise the Puppy comp though, because Corki doesn't really fit that.
And I guess the only suspicious thing is that if he was going to pick Lulu, why wouldn't he pick it for himself? Maybe they're trying to go for a mind game. Maybe it's going to be a top Lulu. We don't know. And despite the fact that the Morgana's there to kind of dissuade away from the Vi pick, the Vi is still the lock-in to try and deal with the Kalista.
Yeah, well, of course, Kalista not going to be with that Morgana if she's going to go into a solo lane at the beginning of the game, so might actually help out for those first few ganks coming through from Chelby. And Chelby's played a couple of games on Vi, but hasn't actually found any success yet, so probably just has something to prove.
I don't know if he's actually played the Vi with Porky on the lineup, though. Having a reliable tank player on the top, potentially even the Rumble coming out of the top, although with Lulu and Lissandra, probably one of those going to be the top laner. Maybe for once, Chelby going to be away from the more tanky champions and away to something that does a little bit more damage and, crucially, a little bit more wave clear.
Yeah, that is a very good point. Chuffer thinking about going back to the Janna here as well. Did pick up Thresh in the last game, banned away at this stage as Direwolves thinking about their final option, and Perfection might be taking the Kennen into the top lane, or Sharp might be taking it into the mid, and I don't even really know. Janna could be going mid, Janna could be going top. We might have a top lane Jarvan. I'm losing my mind.
Calm down there, Atlas. It's okay, it's okay. Remember what your psychiatrist told you.
I can't. Papa Smithy, you're right here. Please repeat.
All right, just deep breaths. The one thing you can say, though, is what we kind of speculated was flexibility. With the Morgana pick, might be trying to track the Lissandra. Maybe Direwolves haven't even exactly decided which lanes they're going to go into. They're just going to wait to see what the 5th pick is, because there's still the potential for a support Lulu. We can still see another carry coming through on the advanced side. A lot of magic damage already locked in, though. I'm fascinated to see what the last pick is. Maybe a bit more magic damage.
Yeah, maybe, but where is that Nidalee going to go? I have a suspicion that it's going to be the mid lane, because Kensty, sort of, as far as historically goes, that's a terrible sentence, but you know what I'm trying to say. His Nidalee has been so frightening. This was, of course, before the rework, but you have to think that his Nidalee mechanics have not suffered since. He played almost exclusively that champion. Was ridiculously impressive. We shall see. Of course, the switch around, I don't think Vi is going to be going into a solo lane, and by the looks of things, well, actually, we don't know what Direwolves are doing just yet. This is just ridiculous. Please swap it around so we have some form of an idea of what's going on. But it looks like Perfection's going to take the Kennen to the top lane.
I think the Avant lineup is settled at this point. The thing to take away from the Avant lineup, as you mentioned, once those Kassadin bans started to come through, of course, Kensty, a famous old-school Kassadin player, Nidalee was the champion he picked up afterwards. And even with the changes, we just saw Moya boss around a game as AP Nidalee. The potential from the mid lane still very, very high. And against either Kennen or Morgana, it's actually a great pickup. Morgana, the thing that people always say is, although she's a very flexible laner, she can go in any lane, she's very safe, she just doesn't apply that much pressure. So if you can stack up AP and get a pretty safe laning phase, you're pretty happy as Nidalee.
Yeah, well, exactly. But ladies and gentlemen, we asked you just the other day whether you had any questions for us casters here up on the desk, and we want to read some out for you, as I actually have no idea what they are, so I'm going to have a little bit of fun figuring it out, as Matthew Hunter is the first one to write in his tweet, which says, who of the casters comes in second in terms of enthusiasm and sheer volume, seeing how I obviously take first? But I think that Pastry Time can give me a run for my money. I promise you that. And
I actually observe this when I'm playing games with these guys. Even when they're off stream, Atlas, you guys have incredible volume. That's the thing you take away. With those sound, you guys should be banned from those sound isolating headsets, because you guys are so loud. Pastry Time next to Atlas, crazy, inside the cast and out.
Yeah, it is just absolutely ridiculous. In fact, I had a demonstration of that yesterday. I think Pastry Time was playing a normal game. It was out of control. Kara Colossus, though, does have our second question, is what are the key vulnerabilities of Chiefs that the other teams will need to exploit to be able to take them down? That is a very good question. Papa Smithy, I'll throw that one over to you.
This is a freelance analysis question being asked. I feel like I should be charging per hour with a question like this. There's how many teams? 7 teams in the OPL that are looking for the answer to this question. I guess the only thing that I can say about the Chiefs, their late game is maybe their weakest phase of the game. In the mid game and early game, their rotational play, we saw that creative turret dive in one of their previous series against, I believe, the Direwolves, dealing with Perfection. Their mid game rotations, their team fight is excellent. Their late game, though, can sometimes let them down. So getting to the late game against Chiefs, I don't have any advice on how to get there, but their late game team fighting, not their strongest phase of the game. So just try to bring it late, mates. I mean, other people have tried it, hasn't worked out, but that's the real possibility I see.
Yeah, well, that could be the option here, of course. I think that they're infallible myself, but I'm the play-by-play caster. I have no idea. But For the Car is going to ask his question as well. How big is your production team? Well, we've actually got a couple of teams here. We've got a set of referees over next door keeping an eye on the players, and, of course, all of us in here bringing you the production. And Benji working very, very hard. He's our head, and he's just a wonderful man.
Just so many smiling faces. And then, of course, people always poking in, putting their hands up to help. Right? It's been so accommodating and so helpful across the board. Big enough is all we can really say.
Yeah, that's exactly right, of course. Sitting on the caster desk here as well. I mean, we are most definitely here, as Benji actually throws into my ear that we're suck-ups. So hopefully I'm going to get that raise, but I don't think it's going to happen because he's called me out.
Stay classy, production team.
Oh, San Diego. Oh, my goodness. That's the viewers, Papa Smithy. That's... oh, my goodness. We've been derailed. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get back to the game at hand. Of course, Direwolves taking on Avant. We've seen the lineups now, and Perfection going to be taking his 8th champion into the top lane. The Kennen coming through, of course, that Lightning Rush. Now, not Lightning Rush, it was the Electrical Surge. Actually got a buff in the last patch, 5.4. A lot more controlled there while he's using his ultimate.
Yeah, the W ability, to be clear, when you activate the Slicing Maelstrom, any of the targets caught in the AoE can be the W applied, and that gets them close to that 3rd mark of the Storm and the stun. And why this is significant, people might not appreciate, is that at level 1, that ultimate doesn't have enough bolts to stun a team. It's only at level 2 when you start getting enough bolts with the W to stun a team. So just having the more reliable application of the 3rd mark of the Storm proc is very important. It gets you closer to an AoE stun at early levels, and it's significant for the first dragon fight. So when you make Kennen strong at the first dragon fight, it just flows upon and really helps his early game, moves into late very well. Kennen already a lane dominating champion, buffed for the early game. We're going to see plenty of Kennen, I think, as we move forward in the OPL.
I certainly hope so. I just love it when he runs around yelling out, yes, 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 and picking up kills. It's just hilarious. Porky, though, is going to be on the Lissandra, and how does that matchup actually go here either way?
There's a lot of kill potential for both. I mean, level 6 being hit, I think, is instant kill pressure. So we'll have to track to see, assuming we do get the 1v1 matchup. And in fact, we have to just be simple and say, Porky versus Perfection will be a very exciting top lane matchup. Both these players been so crucial in their team's success. Of course, Porky more recently and also in the past, of course, missed quite a few weeks of the OPL. We saw his Rumble carry performance. Both of these are AP burst mages, so you can tell the damage is high, the survivability is low, and that should mean plenty of excitement.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. And I'm interested to see Porky sitting on this Lissandra as well. I mean, his Rumble performance was absolutely incredible, but Porky's been known for amazing super tank play, of course. Played Mundo back in the day. He's played a whole lot of champions. Maokai actually got a respect ban, as did that Scion aimed at Porky there in the top lane. Now he's going to be on this mage in the top lane, and we'll see how he goes. As ladies and gentlemen, we're about to get onto the Rift.
And we have to remember that Lissandra doesn't have the base stats to be a tank, but potentially 5 seconds of invulnerability if you pick up the Zhonya, so still may function as a tank. I imagine Porky will find a way to be comfortable, whatever his champion picks.
Well, exactly right. But we are onto the Rift, ladies and gentlemen, with Direwolves taking on Avant-Garde. Direwolves looking to follow up their first win here of the night. Of course, definitely not their first win. They've picked up a whole lot of them thus far. And Soulstrike's back on the lineup. King already getting some harassment here from Johnny, who is on the Lulu support. Second time we've actually seen it here in the OPL. Lulu support a little bit more popular down here in the Oceanic region.
It's been a brawler favorite, you have to remember, in general, so it wasn't that surprising to see him break it up. But now Johnny taking notes, moving away from the Thresh, of course. The Sword of the Occult Thresh sits in your mind when you think of Johnny's famous carry performances from support. Not a lot of CC in the early levels, just the slow from the Glitterlance, but so much disengaged in the late game. And Lulu, such a priority pick that you kind of have to either ban it or take away an early rotation and then figure out much later which lane you're going to put it in.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, and it allowed Kenzie to decide, okay, I'm against a Morgana. I'm against about 0 pressure there in the mid lane, so I can pick up the Nidalee and shove out the wave, roam earlier on.
I mean, you say about 0 pressure from the Morgana herself, definitely, but we do have a Jarvan jungle coming from Soulstrike. So if we do see an EQ combo into the wait, hold on, 1 second here.
Into the Cataclysm?
What is the Morgana ultimate?
Oh, Soul Shackles.
Soul Shackles, Soul Strikes. You can see how I got confused. Train of thought completed. The Soul Strikes flag and drag into the Morgana Soul Shackles. There is quite a lot of kill pressure coming out of the mid lane.
Yeah, kill pressure on my color caster, apparently, because your brain almost ruptured trying to get that one out. But ladies and gentlemen, it is going to be the Krug start here in the bottom lane for King and Chuffer, utilizing that Eye of the Storm just to make sure that they're as healthy as possible. Beautiful Glitterlance coming through from Johnny there, though, as King martially poises his way out of that Phosphorus Bomb.
He actually has almost a full level experience over a match. We didn't even notice that he got some experience before he entered lane. They have to respect King at level 2.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. We've been seeing this cross-region that Kalista hitting that level 2 early can be very devastating. We'll see. And of course, Missouri has now hit that level 2. Everything is going to be fine.
So a lot more jungle pressure coming out of Direwolves in the early levels. They have a Jarvan versus Vi matchup. Vi mostly going to be focusing on farming in the early levels. Does have decent damage ganks, but not a lot of setup CC in mid especially. So probably going to be relegated to just power farming to 6.
Yeah, this is the thing, and we'll see whether Chelby can have a comeback performance here on this Vi. Over at the red buff now, Soul Strike's already finished his, lagging a little bit behind his Chelby, as the Scuttle Crab now going to pay for whatever it did to Soul Strikes previously, and he's going to take it without any response.
And we see there's a lot of minions pushing up. Actually, Avant have been able to push in King, despite the fact he's level 3, but he's using this opportunity to go in aggressive.
Yeah, beautiful Howling Gale across both members, and Soul Strikes just tags him a little bit, and first blood goes to King. Beautiful stuff by the Direwolves early on.
Yeah, King already had actually did not have 2 levels in the Ren, so probably needed the helpful damage coming through from Soul Strikes. Picks up the first blood from all the Ren stacks, as in the top, 2 mages just kind of dealing with each other.
Yeah, that's the thing. Porky with a massive wave to deal with now, but he should be absolutely fine. There's that Q on, not too much of a cooldown. King having a bit of a giggle here in this bottom lane, feeling pretty proud of himself for picking up that first blood. And with the Eye of the Storm here, of course, Janna wasn't immediately what you thought of pairing with a Kalista here, but it's just ridiculous giving her so much extra trading power with that Eye of the Storm early.
So the moment that we saw Kalista come into competitive, the first thought for everyone was Kalista Annie. Get in there with the Tibbers. Of course, you use the Fate's Call as a reposition. Don't need to flash. Get into the back line and engage supports with the name of the game.
I actually thought it would be Malphite myself.
Well, fair enough.
The double knockups there coming through with
so if we're going to keep it meta, Annie was definitely the first thought. As Sharp takes a massive burst of damage.
Oh, nice Dark Binding to save his life there, as Kenzie was unable to follow up with that spear. And that pounce takedown would have been the combo to end Sharp's life, but nice gank early here for Chelby. Lots of pressure.
And the evolution, though, of Kalista support combinations has been these disengaged supports, because you can get into the front line, use all your CC as Janna, potentially even pop the Monsoon, and then just use the Fate's Call as almost like a Thresh Lantern, just a recall just to get to safety and then get back into the back line. So you can be a frontline disengaged support and then fulfill your role once you get to lower health in the back line. So I do love this Janna-Kalista pairing after initially being skeptical.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. And King just going to jump out of another Phosphorus Bomb here. Johnny taking a lot of Ren damage here as well. Look at the flag and drag. Perfectly timed as Soul Strike's almost not finished here. Misui close enough to his tower, and yet again, King picking up a kill.
And Soul Strike's back on the lineup. You can see the pressure he's able to put out. His jungle pathing to actually clear the jungle effectively and then get to bottom twice with a successful gank. Excellent pathing coming through from Soul Strike. Looks like he'll probably be able to pick up the dragon. Yes, he does. Chelby's actually already recalled. They're going to have to seed this first dragon, and Direwolves playing the early game really well.
Yeah, it's just beautiful. And Direwolves, I mean, Soul Strikes has never been banned out, but how do you manage to do so with so many power players that need to have things targeted at them? And the Victor was banned away from Sharp because of his performance previously. Perfections will never get Hecarim again because that is just terrifying. That leaves one more ban, and it was the Rek'Sai, but he's happy to get on that Jarvan.
I really feel like teams need to kind of understand that with the changes, we see another strong trader bot. Probably not enough damage for someone to fall, but King's still putting out a lot of damage, now level 5 with a big item purchase.
Yeah, his use of the Pierce and Rend here for these trades is just so beautiful to watch here from King. His Kalista, very frightening.
But I mean, the one point you take away from Jarvan is that he basically had 10 armor removed from him at level 1, which makes his jungling that much harder. You'll notice the creep score, he was at the time 14 to 20, now 19 to 22. But he doesn't want to be farming the jungle. He's now kind of pigeonholed more into using his aggressive, uncleansable CC for ganks. So you should expect extra early pressure from Jarvan. It was always possible, but he could be a bit more flexible, maxing farming with ganking. Now he's more of a farm jungler just because of the change to his jungle code, as we see Ultimate used in top.
Yeah, the ult did go down in the top. Of course, Porky does have level 6 as well. He used his. So we're talking about the fact that these top laners have kill pressure. Not quite up here just yet, but of course, when they come back off cooldown, everyone's going to have to be very careful.
If we see more of these double mage tops, you just wait for someone to finally say screw it and take the ignite just for a little bit of extra kill pressure.
Heck yeah. I'm looking forward to that. That one does. I'm surprised no one's taken Rek'Sai into the top lane just so that you can take Ignite but still manage to get around the map.
Have you seen the things that Rek'Sai can do from the jungle?
Yeah, okay, that's a very good point.
One day.
You don't necessarily get to use that Tremor Sense all that well if you're stuck in the top lane. Oh my goodness. Perfections, though, continuing to farm this one out. Only a couple ahead here of Porky on Kennen, the notable lane bully here in the top side. Of course, since that range reduction, not quite as much of a problem as he previously was. but still definitely a bully. Kensti just going to clear out this mid-wave as Chelby. He's going to lend a helping hand. Nice spear from Kensti, of course. Still has his eye in for that particular ability.
Look at the CS values in the mid, though. We haven't really dwelled upon the mid lane matchup, but 17 CS already the advantage for Kensti.
Ridiculous.
We always praise Morgana for her ability to push lanes and ability to farm. She's doing capably, but after that first gank where she falled very low, Kensti's been able to overtake this lane on his very favored, very comfortable Nidalee.
Yeah, and he's actually now doing some counter jungling here at the Raptors. Soul Strikes, of course, all the way up here into the top lane. So Avant with a lot of control across the mid lane. Direwolf still with a very powerful bot lane situation, with King picking up that kill and assist. Almost has his Hurricane. Chelby up here as well. Soul Shackle's actually in the mid lane, but Kensti able to pounce out of the way of it. Primal Surge going to keep him topped up, especially with that blue buff here as well. But ranged wave clear with the spears from a little bit further away. A little bit difficult, but he should be absolutely fine.
I mean, for a player who's been so strong on two champions, notably, of course, has more of a champion pool, but is famous for both his Nidalee and Kassadin. With Kassadin no longer needing to be on the ban pool, I feel like, I mean, Nidalee, just one respect ban, it deals a lot with what he does as we see the ultimate coming through.
Yeah, the Vault Breaker lands here as well, and it's the double lockdown, and Perfection couldn't do anything for about 4 seconds.
Absolutely, he was probably smashing his flash button, let alone the lightning rush. Couldn't do anything though. Excellent layering of CC. As in the mid lane, the trading continues. And Soul Strikes, he's going to find another lane.
Yeah, Cataclysm, the slam dunk onto Kensti, and it's all in a day's work here for Soul Strikes.
Soul Strikes 1, 0, and 2, 100% kill participation. Been tunneled on the bottom lane, but paid a visit to mid at just the most fortuitous time possible.
Yeah, that's exactly right. The teleport going to come through into the top lane. Chelby and Porky trying to take down the tower. Perfections gets a beautiful Vault Breaker to break Perfections out. Does get a couple of stuns here with the oldest. Porky completely out of mana. Is the Vault Breaker going to be there as the stun comes through, actually? Perfections with a decent effort answering back, and with both of these members very low, flashes over the top, and Chelby doesn't get the Mark of the Storm, but is it going to be enough? Porky picks up the kill, and a bit of a misplay from Perfections.
Yeah, actually flashed over, as you mentioned, wasn't able to apply the stun mark. Awkward there for Perfection. And now he's died a second time. The teleport to top with two members hitting down was risky to begin with, and couldn't even find a kill to validate the flash and the summoner teleport being used.
And that top outer turret did go down as well, netting Avant-Garde a little bit of a gold lead here at the beginning of the game, which is definitely going to help out Misui here in this bottom lane, who's falling drastically far behind. Beautiful spear from Kensti. He's looking for the pounce, but Sharp is waiting in the wings. Kensti not going to find any joy. And we were talking about that bottom lane. I mean, it's getting towards that 30 CS ahead mark here for King, who's just got complete control of this lane.
And look, it's all on King at this point, though. We've already seen Perfection is comfortably losing this top lane. Kensti's been offered free farm in mid and putting so much pressure on both Sharp and the enemy jungler. King, he's a very capable carry. We've seen him have multiple carry performances so far in the OPL, but they're leaning heavily upon him this game.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, and we'll see whether his Kalista is going to be enough. Of course, with no dedicated tank, he might be able to tear through the members of Avant-Garde, but with so much hard CC, it can be very, very scary. I think we're looking at Sharp to really keep King alive in this one.
You have to think the Assault and Battery...
Oh my goodness, the Dark Binding actually landing here onto Kensti in the mid lane. Soul Shackles erupts, and Kensti's gonna die, flashing out of the way immediately as Sharp doesn't actually follow the Glacial Path as Porky, and teleport not quite enough, so that's a couple of teleports wasted so far.
And it's a solo kill for Sharp on Kensti as Morgana, which is surprising to begin with. Soul Strikes in!
The slam dunk onto Chelby. Everyone's here. King just comes around, picks up another kill, easy as you like.
The Skirmisher Saber doing so much work, reapplying the true damage debuff just to accentuate the damage he has. He never goes for the Chilling Smite, does Soul Strikes. Loves that Skirmisher Saber, and it's doing work.
It is. It nets them a dragon here as well, as Direwolves really starting to ball ahead in this one. Of course, in the top lane, Avant-Garde were doing some work. They got down that turret. Things were looking good. Of course, a lot of pressure on the side of Kensti, but Perfections with this map play, it's just beautiful.
And we can see there's a 3-man stack on your mini-map, trying to push him aggressively at the bottom, trying to get the first turret for the map as there's a trade in top.
Yeah, a little bit of trade. Oh, there's a slicing maelstrom to come through. Porky gets stunned up here as well. Misses the Q as there's the last one. The auto attack comes through and Perfections picks up a solo kill in the top lane.
The 550 attack range is just enough to pick up a solo kill, as you mentioned. Had the Negatron cloak, and suddenly we were talking about the fact they were lagging behind in top and mid. Solo kills for both. And Direwolves just really accelerate into the advantage.
Yeah, that was just beautiful. And Perfections, he was 0-2-0 at that stage. Of course, even on farm, but Porky was definitely ahead of him in that lane. Things going fantastically now, of course, with that Abyssal Scepter going to help him out a whole lot as far as that damage and, of course, the defense against Porky's concerned.
You'd have to say, though, with the Abyssal Scepter, and specifically the early Negatron, Perfection was building for lane and Porky was just building cooldown reduction. Of course, the Merlinomicon passive not doing a lot of work against Kennen. So just, having that magic resist was theoretically always going to help Perfection in a trade. Now the Abyssal Scepter going to be massive in fights.
Yeah, well, the Spear going to land on Soul Strikes, takes half of his health, but Direwolves brute force this outer turret in the mid lane. 2,000 gold now the lead for the Direwolves, and with a whole lot of map pressure now built up, the outer turrets are falling left, right, and center. Still one more to go there in that top side, but you have to think that that has a timer on it now. As Avant-Garde, they may have caught out Porky and Misui. There's the slam dunk, but Porky makes his way out of it. Misui on the backside is going to escape with the Valkyrie and the flash as Kensti throws some spears. Soul Strike seems to be addicted to copping spear in the head, which is definitely not a good idea. Porky, oh dear, knows that there is a pink ward there. There's a glacial path that comes through. Perfections gets caught before he can do anything. Takedown not quite there. Sharp actually picks up the kill. The flash, the takedown from Kensti. Can he escape though? The Rend coming through and King is so big. Press E, there it is, and King picks up the kill.
Giving some tips to him there, press E at the right time, but it works. And at the same time, Avant are able to push the mid lane, though. Not sure how much damage they can do. Soul Strikes is very low, but Morgana's coming to relieve pressure.
Yeah, Sharp going to be able to put down a little bit of a puddle there as Dark Binding does go wide. Nice Black Shield going to stop a lot of Misui's damage, and of course, Johnny there as well. Avant-Garde, they still have some fight in them. There is not a whole lot of money in it as Chelby, he's started to split push.
He actually managed to bait out the teleport, so that's very successful split push coming through. But at the same time, Direwolves are pushing very aggressive into this inner turret. Will they have enough damage? Skip away, but do secure the turret.
Yeah, not too bad at all. King going very far forward. He turns into a rabbit here as the Galilant's not going to find him. Porky doesn't have his ult available just yet, even with that 40% CDR. Avant-Garde definitely feeling the pressure now of the Direwolves, and this isn't a situation anymore where King was the only one ahead. We've got a 3-0-0 Morgana on our hands now as well.
And one of the big issues that Avant largely do have a poke com. Of course, once you have an AP Nidalee, you're putting so many resources into Nidalee, you are looking to siege around turrets. But with their 3 outer turrets down, or at least 2 turrets in the bottom and the outer mid turret, you worry that the moment Perfection hits level 11, if they can get a ward for him to flank engage upon, this Avant lineup might be unseated. I feel like the perfect slicing Maelstrom will completely undo everything Avant's trying to do in a fight, and they have to be very vigilant at clearing wards, because as I said, any flank wards and Direwolves so much engaged. Soul Shackle, slicing Maelstrom, and then of course the Jarvan ultimate. The AoE wombo is immense.
Yeah, well, that's definitely a good point. Lightning Rush here for Perfection is just to try and clear out this wave. Electrical Surge doing some work there as he's now free to roam. You can see every member of Direwolves here on this top side of the map. This last outer turret does seem to be the focus. Nice Ring of Frost to come through the tower, doing some work onto Perfection here as well as Porky glacially paths his way out. Not entirely sure whether that's a verb, ladies and gentlemen, but let's just go with it.
I didn't say anything this time, Atlas. We had this conversation precast.
Oh my goodness. King and Perfection's waiting around the side. Chuffer able to move very, very fast now, just being Janna and, of course, having those mobility boots. But Avant just going to... They're going to seed the top outer turret.
Yeah, all outer turrets down. I'm looking for the aggressive wards to come through from Direwolves because the flank is their best way to initiate a fight. They don't want to sit in lane and eat the poke coming out from Kensti. They want to try and flank him. So watch for Direwolves start pushing their ward lines aggressively into the enemy jungle.
Yeah, Soul Strikes in the meantime is going to take down a Rift Scuttler, give himself some vision of the dragon. Of course, it is going to be spawning in another minute or so, so definitely going to lock down vision of that area. You can see already it's the top side focus here for Direwolves. They knew that they wanted to take down that top outer turret, and they prepared for it effectively. And we'll see how the vision moves forward, like you mentioned. now that that outer ring has gone down. Avant Garde, they really need to start solidifying some vision around this map.
But their issue is there's been some massive shops pre-Dragon coming through. The Bloodthirst to complement the earlier Hurricane. So, I mean, looking very, very scary as King. Definitely ready to start carrying his team. It's a no-tank lineup. Chelby does not have any true tank items just yet. And actually, a very aggressive move. We're going to see a fight.
Yeah, there's a Glacial Path coming through here as well. Wild Growth onto Porky's Perfections gets locked down. Slicing Maelstrom, not going to be slicing anyone. And Avant, they get the wombo they were looking for.
Yeah, it was a very surprising engage. Actually, the engage comp is the one engaged upon. And they take the outer turret. This might be the Dragon coming through from Avant.
Yeah, really nice stuff. But we'll see whether they can answer this one unhindered. Of course, King's already alive, but with Perfections with no teleport and Chuffer dead, you have to think Avant Garde are going to be able to answer the couple of dragons already picked up here from Avant. Scrying Orb's going to spot out Kensty. Soul Strikes is round the side here as King takes a lot of damage pouncing onto him, but Kensty might fall down here. There's the Rend, and King just too strong right now. Valkyrie out from Misui. He wants nothing to do with this. Dark Binding under Johnny though, and he's most definitely dead. The puddle consumes him, and they're going to pick up a consolation blue buff.
I think King just has too many item times, not respected, but Maz eats a binding.
Oh, that's another bind from Sharp, and he is playing so beautifully today. First that Victor doing disgusting damage, and now making this Morgana look like an assassin.
Absolutely. I mean, when you're maxing the Dark Binding first, as we see coming through from Sharp, it didn't go for the counter pushing. That's what opened up the laning phase for Kensty, is he didn't have a lot to counter push the Cougar form wave clear, but he maxed the Binding first. The very high AB ratio, and the Abyssal and the Morellonomicon is so much mid-game powers. Potential another outer turret, but there's that Assault and Battery.
Yeah, Assault and Battery onto King here as well, but he's able to dance around. Frozen Tomb onto King, and they're looking for this one as Kensty's going to dive in. Wild Growth as well. They keep him alive for so long, but Kensty, he's starting to wreck this fight. Perfections has to jump out. The pounce is the takedown there. Another pounce comes through, and Chuffer, is he going to be safe? It was a beautiful flash. Howling Gale's there as well, but the spear, he dodges it. Kensty's still on the way, but he gives up in the end.
Perfection still, as you can see, a couple of seconds away from the slicing Maelstrom. That would have changed everything because King lived for so long. If there was the AoE stun coming through to complement all the shields and the Janna Peel that King had, he would have lived and been able to get the Rend sets and potentially win that fight. But again, cooldown not available, Perfection not able to impact that fight despite having the Abyssal Scepter and the Needless Large Rod. And Kensty and Avant, they're staying in this game.
Yeah, they are. They're hanging on by the skin of their teeth. I'm glad that you mentioned the Janna Peel there as well. That's a hilarious situation. It's Misui farming out some creeps in the top side of the map as well. He just really wants to pick up some farm. Only behind by about 20, but when you've got a 5-1-2 opponent and you're sitting at 1-1-1, you're not feeling all that great.
Whenever we talk about Corki, we always kind of talk about the Trinity Force and pushing down of turrets. Only 2 turrets down from Maz. He's been behind in lane. He's had to seed lane due to just the extreme power coming out from King, who's now added a Zeal to what he already had. And yeah, unfortunately, Corki on the defensive, just not the same as Corki rotating.
Yeah, Johnny actually going to cop a Dark Binding here as well. Look at all the damage to come through from the Direwolves. Misui shouldn't have been there, as Soul Strike's going to take a spear for it, but that is 2 for nothing for Direwolves.
It's just unfortunately overextending and perishes. No big objectives to take. Baron, of course, available, but not a realistic objective, and they'll continue the push here to the Direwolves.
Yeah, King just easily able to farm out these minions here, as well as Corki looking to try and just clear this one out. Of course, can throw out that Q like a machine gun, but Direwolves, they've got other ideas here as the middle lane outer turret does fall down. Glacial Path there as well as Porky. He goes aggressive. They take down Soul Strikes, but King looking to start something up, and Avant, they have stopped the pressure here in the mid.
That's a very big amount of burst damage going through him. Kensty's kind of a one-man pressure cooker. He's just trying to cause as much pressure as possible. His team is on the defensive, but every spear that hits and is confirmed does so much damage.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. But Avant holding on for another moment here in this game. Direwolves looking frightening. It is only 4,000 gold, and Avant, they really want to get back into the driver's seat, but just not looking very good at this stage, and it's going to take some pretty intense play from Porky to be able to lock this one down. I mean, that Glacial Tomb is very strong.
Zhonya's is going to come through very soon, so we're going to have guaranteed AoE CC being provided by Perfection. Sharp stacking up AP, of course, makes those bindings deadly, but it makes the Black Shield stronger. And King, he's doing his bit as an AD carry. He suffered in lane against Enfermoon and Sudden Fear. He had to seed lane after just getting being pushed out in his Corki, but on this Hyper Carry Kalista, with a team that has multiple peels and shields for him, looking great.
Yeah, the hyper carry potential of this Kalista is terrifying, especially at this stage now that he's about to finish that Phantom Dancer, has all of the items that he wants, and it's not necessarily even about that. It's the fact that he had them so early in this game, 23 minutes, and we're talking about almost a 3 damage item Kalista.
Absolutely. He had the big two, the Bloodthirster Hurricane for, I believe, the second Dragon fight, which is a very, very fast timing on those items, about 6,000 gold worth of items between the two of them. And every member of Avant has to be aware of his power and the fact that he has a team ready to peel for him. So he's able to position so aggressively that Soul Strikes.
Yeah, there's the Frozen Tomb immediately flacked out of the way up here from Soul Strikes. Oh, Spear doesn't land, but there's the Cataclysm trying to get some work done. Porky, Zhonya's as himself, and Sharp now finds himself in a very difficult position. Perfection's going for the flank here. Doesn't have the Zhonya's and just gets destroyed. King looking for it. The Fate's Call to come through. No, the double kill for Kensty. The turnaround coming through now for Avant as Chuffa tries to push everyone away. It's a phosphorus bomb from a Misui who picks that one up, and I'm tripping over my words, and that's 4 dead for nothing in favor of Avant.
And Direwolves tripping over their engages Atlas. We saw Perfection get in the middle, activate the Slicing Maelstrom, but CC at the last second. Wow, the kill credit actually goes through to Sharp, picks up a double kill from this Baron.
Yeah, he's almost looking like a quadra kill at this stage, as thankfully Misui had enough mana to Valkyrie out of there. That was a very dangerous Baron call. Not entirely sure I agree.
The surprising puddle damage, and then the last Baron autos killing both members of Avant. So yeah, as you mentioned, over-aggressive Baron call suddenly snuck up to 702.
Yeah.
Morgana.
Yeah, Sharp is playing super well on this Morgana, and last time we saw it, wasn't quite able to have an impact on the map, and I'm happy to eat my words at this stage. He's been so impressive.
He's actually stacking magic penetration, not going for AP. Of course, if he'd gone for a death cap, it does the double duty of boosting up the Black Shield and, of course, doing more damage and more wave clear. But this is actually a teamfight damage build. And when he goes in there, that Soul Shackles, I've remembered the name now,
nice.
Atlas, I've got there, does massive damage.
Direwolves are going to be able to secure their 3rd dragon here. 5% movement speed. Thank you very much. He's going to be going over to them as King just going to continue shooting through these minions. And Avant-Garde now seeing whether they can stop the siege.
Siege at the moment, but they want to be the one siege, and that's the issue, is that Nidalee and Corki great at poking under turrets. Good turret damage coming through, especially with Lulu. They have 4 ranged auto attackers here, Avant, so they have excellent siege. But Direwolves, they're the ones to get the early turrets. The flank potential's always been there. We see Kennen going to shop very soon, but in general, playing on the back foot as a siege comp, that's really unfortunate for Avant. But the early game, it was completely in the advantage of Direwolves.
Yeah, Misui now trying to clear out these minions as best he can. There's the Gatling gun coming through. King actually tries to destroy him under the turret, but doesn't quite manage to. Misui is burning down a little bit from this red buff, unable to quite back yet. And Direwolves with complete control of this inner turret. Johnny getting aggressed on. King takes half of his health, though, from Kensty, who's still doing serious damage on this Nid.
When you have Bloodthirst and a lot of attack speed, you build up the lifesteal very, very fast with those bolts also applying life. So you see already full health without even clearing the Krugs. And King able to sustain from the enemy jungle. That makes it even more sweet. It's like eating someone else's french fries.
Yeah, I know. He did it. Just came through, said, oh, you're not eating those? Just picks them up. No worries there at all. And that Pierce, the fadeaway Pierce, looked so sweet.
Yeah, starved for creeps.
Yeah, exactly. Just let him eat some creeps. Kensty, though, he's able to clear out this wave just a little bit. Doesn't want to walk into that puddle, of course. It's very deceptive. Most Morganas that you see at the moment do tend to be in that support role, and that puddle is ignorable. At this stage, it's ticking for a whole lot of damage.
That's a surprising thing. It's like when we see solo lane Lulu, they're going to take 40% CDR, then just build up AP stacks. It might not be the most efficient stat for damage to champions. Oh, dear, Johnny.
Oh, Johnny's in so much trouble. That's going to be the Soul Shackles out from Sharp. They were just looking for the pick, but is that enough of an ult for Avant to feel like they can aggress onto something? Oh, Kensty does land the spear here as well as Misui turns around. King was looking for a 1v2. on purpose.
I mean, King's been opting into 1v2s, 1v3s, watching his teammates die and going in aggressively. That is his confidence in his mechanics. Biting off more than he can chew sometimes, but if you get it off, if you get the highlight reel play, damn, do you look good.
Oh, yeah. Avantgarde are going to spot the fact that this Baron is going down. Kensti doesn't want to help too much with it with these spears, but the back pings are coming through. Chuffa takes a lot of damage from the Baron. Direwolves seem a little bit split here as King looking to try and get some work done, but doesn't manage to lock down the Rift Scuttler. And Perfection's now with his teleport, split pushing here on the bottom side. And Kennen, pretty decent split pusher.
Well, now he's used the Lightning Rush. You see 3 or 4 members on your minimap trying to catch up to this Lightning Cannon.
Yeah, Kensti is able to pounce around this map, looking for a potential spear to come through. Puts a trap on the wrong side of the wall. So not going to find the cannon. Perfection's going to make his way back.
So Direwolves trying to create map pressure. They know they have a very fast Baron and a great secure, of course, when you're speaking about Kalista and high attack speed values in the Rend. Let's try to create as much map pressure as possible because they know that's about 10 seconds to secure the Baron, but they need to push out the minion waves, get the aggressive wards down to just make it that much safer.
Yeah, make sure that they don't get killed even if the Baron does fall down, because of course the insta-kill potential coming out of a lot of these Avant members is very, very large. And we saw as soon as they get a snowball in a fight, Avant are still able to run over the top. I
mean, it's a Quadra AP comp in terms of magic damage being the large source of the damage, especially early into the game before the first big AD item is completed on Maz. The magic resist shred coming through from Baron. You can understand the potential of the Glacial Path into the Frozen Tomb AoE would be massive against Direwolves. So they have to be extra sure if they're going to take this Baron, that they have the extra vision so they can disengage at the correct time.
Yeah, and Direwolves at this stage seem pretty content just waiting for the next dragon to come up. They'll take that one and then threaten the 5th. And they're just looking to catch the members of Avantgarde in transition, because you can see the deep warding has definitely continued throughout this game as the Direwolves, they know exactly where Avant are as soon as they leave their base.
Sharp's kind of looking for a second damage force to be grouped to them, as he's had to use the Soul Shackles for all his picks, and that kind of reduces their chance of getting a second. But it's such an important cooldown that using it on one member, look, if you already have all your minion waves pushed out and you can rush Baron, absolutely go for it. But these previous picks just haven't gotten Direwolves as big an advantage as a 5v4 should at this situation.
Yeah, it's true. Pings out onto Porky here, who is looking for some form of flank maneuver. King's in the top side, though, so Direwolves probably not looking to fight here, as Kensti does land some nice poke. Does have that Void Staff completed. The trinity of mid lane items has come through here for this Nidalee, who's definitely doing some big damage.
It's unclear what item timings Direwolves are looking for to start pushing and sieging themselves. I mean, they have so many items. Already the AP items completed on Sharp. Now the blasting one. I don't see any like big item time they're missing. We've had Bloodthirst, a Hurricane, and the QSS completed so early on King, but they're just happy to farm up as if there's a specific item timing they're looking for.
Yeah, we'll see exactly what that is, because of course King now has his Phantom Dancer here as well. Maybe he wants to get the Last Whisper? But, I mean, there's only a Randuin's on Chelby. That's all he really needs to worry about.
In terms of assertive play, I want to see Direwolves go for it soon, because mid Morgana, especially in terms of damage, does fall off in the latest game. Of course, AP ratio is not as high, so it's gone for the magic penetration, which will scale relatively well. But it's definitely not a huge late-game damage source. If you can disengage from the Soul Shackles and not get the second part confirmed, doesn't do a lot of damage. And Kensti will keep doing more and more damage with this poke.
Oh, King, actually, the needle threaded by Kensti. Probably wants to start hitting the dragon here in order to get some health back. Of course, does start doing that. You can see his health rising swiftly here as he martially poises over various things. Glacial Path is going to come through here. That dragon now on quite low health as the Dark Binding lands onto Porky. Takes a whole lot of damage, but Primal Surge is going to keep him up here as well. The Rend comes down. Dire will start to explode on the backside, though. Avantgarde, it's their turn to melt as finally Perfections gets the engage that he wants. He does fall down for it, but it's a 2-for-2 so far, and Direwolves, they get the dragon.
An even trade, but with the dragon. The 4th dragon especially is crucial for Direwolves. You can see, though, that AoE wombo damage is already starting to dissipate, even though there's no locker or even Aegis completed for Avant. The moment that Aegis comes through, I worry about some of Direwolves' double AP damage. Of course, King's only going to get stronger. Maybe they don't necessarily have the frontline deal with King, but the magic damage portion, at least, will dissipate as this game goes on.
Yeah, certainly there. Kensti looking for a spear. Finds Sharp as well as King's dancing up to him. Chuffa, is the Fate's Call going to be available? It is there. if King wants it. But there's the Vault Breaker. Chelby just picks up Chuffa for free. And King unable to quite press that button quickly enough. Porky now getting outplayed just a little bit. Flashes over, uses the Zhonya's. The Frozen Tomb, is it available? Almost up again, but the Soul Strike spear to the head's going to be enough. Johnny going to fall down as well as Perfections turns up. The Wild Growth onto Chelby. It is definitely going to save him, but wasn't enough for Johnny. And Porky, he was so robbed in that fight.
So the big thing for Direwolves to understand is they have 2 burst champions with long cooldowns, and when those cooldowns are down, their only consistent damage threat is King. King assassinated by Kensti. If this happens in later fights, if King is ever the first person to fall, there's just not enough consistent damage for Direwolves to win a fight, whereas, you know, Misui, Kensti, even on the Nidalee, is able to do a lot of consistent damage if she can get to Cougar form. And of course, Porky has such low cooldowns when she's got 40% CDR on the Lissandra. King is by far the crown jewel. We've already said the magic damage is going to fall away. They need to be very careful with their cooldowns. They cannot fight when the Slicing Maelstrom and the Soul Shackles are on cooldown.
Yeah, well, it's true. It does definitely seem to be that way. I guess with the QSS now completed, the Mikhail's on Chuffa here as well, that King is going to have a lot of protection from the hard CC, but you're not going to stop a Vi from assault and battering you. That's just not something that you can do in the game.
And the Nidalee Spears, they've been registering on King as well. And we saw 1 round of spells. A Nidalee Spear into the Cougar form spells does about 70-80% of King's health, even through the QSS magic resist.
Yeah, you can't QSS death. You have told me this one before. So we'll see whether that's something that Avant-Garde can manage to do, and whether Sharp's Black Shield is going to be enough to keep King alive. Chelby going to Vault Break his way over the back wall here. Soul Strike's unable to get the knock-up to stop that one from coming through.
A lot of good decisions, though, in terms of item builds. You know, you could say Banshee Veil because, of course, it deals with the spear, but not having the flexibility, I mean, relying too much on the QSS, and, of course, Assault and Battery goes through a Banshee Veil. So in terms of itemization choices, kind of caught between a few options. Not the best options available to King. Just going to have to rely on a bit more defensive position. We've seen him towards the front of fights, almost initiating fights himself through his aggressive players, but might need to be a little bit more defensive as the Scrying Orb does spot out Direwolves.
Yeah, the use of this Scrying Orb from Misui has been fantastic so far, spotting the Direwolves out. But of course, now that it's on cooldown, Avant might have to venture a little bit too deep here. Oh, that Dark Binding was so close onto Kensti.
Dark Binding would have been the go button, Atlas.
Yeah, finds another spear onto King, who just uses the Rift Scuttler to heal himself back up again. If these start happening at the right times here for Kensti, things could look dangerous for the Direwolves, but still definitely in the driver's seat. But it's only a 2,000 gold lead at this stage of the game.
Kensti needs blue buff, though, if they're going to have a consistent fight. Direwolves actually started the Baron. No vision still coming through from Avant. They're disengaging, respecting the pressure of the binding, but the Baron buff's going down. By now, they must have suspected this is happening.
Yeah, not in position, though, or Avant. And Porky's in the bottom lane with no teleport. This is a free Baron for Direwolves.
It's just a mistake, unfortunately. They needed to try and keep pressure. There was no... They didn't see anyone backing in vision. They knew that Direwolves were 5-man strong, and unfortunately, the Baron goes straight to Direwolves, and now the push in mid against those Baron, with those Baroned up minions. There might even be the dive coming through to stop the poke from Kensti.
Yeah, that's the thing. Rockets are going to come down here as well. Phosphorus Bomb not going to do nearly anything here as Misui just gets torn to shreds by King. This inner turret is not going to last long. They trade it for an outer turret in the bottom lane. The third outer turret now for Avant, but not worth the inhibitor that went down so quickly.
I mean, it just might have been a confidence, and they didn't have vision. The Scrying Orb was on cooldown. Everything's shouting out to you that Direwolves might be doing the Baron, but maybe it was just a situation where they were out of Sightstone wards and just didn't realistically have any option but to face check it. And you cannot face check Slicing Maelstrom, Soul Shackles coming out from Sharp and Perfection respectively. So, look, seeding a Baron is never something you want to do, but an Ace in Baron would have been that much worse.
Yeah, that could have been definitely the game at exactly that time. Soul Strikes, he's going to be able to get his standard there in the brush, but Chelby, with the little Raptor buff, is going to be A-OK. Direwolves now looking for a pick. They don't find Misui, but Perfections gets tagged by the Lightning Rush. Chelby, you are in so much trouble. Sharp picks up that one. Chuffa going to use the Monsoon in the bottom lane. Porky takes a lot of damage. Forced to use that flash. Doesn't find the Q-Ters Perfections, but does easily have enough damage with an auto attack. And Kensti finds himself the only one left here in this bottom side of the map. Misui He's going to have to run all the way back now as well.
Off-screen, Maz was actually caught in the bottom lane, and DPS down by King himself. So the other champions from Avant just being caught in transition to try and help out Maz. Another one team fight for Direwolves. I believe this might even be the fifth dragon coming through. Baron buff and fifth dragon. So many things working in Direwolves' advantage.
Yeah, Direwolves just picking up advantage after advantage. Avant, they did manage to get one dragon. So this is only a swing of about 6% statistics, but it doubles everything that you pick up from that dragon. It is ridiculous, and you can see they're burning up and they're ready to break the rest of Avant's base.
Well, if I learned anything from NBA Jam, Atlas, being on fire is a good thing.
Oh, yeah. You can do triple front flips and slam dunk a ring as well. It's definitely a realistic video game, that one, as Porky finding his way in here, but he just doesn't do any damage.
Absolutely. There was actually the Nidalee Spear coming onto King still at full health.
Yeah, just so much regen, so much life steal to come through. Now 4 items here for this Kalista. Just walks into a spear, but doesn't actually lose any health.
The Lulu shield is enough to actually negate a spear at this point, and that is not a good thing if you're Avant. Sorry, the Janna shield.
Yeah, just insane. Chuffa, though, doesn't find the spear just there, but it's going to be the flash from Chelby looking for the Vault Breaker. Wild Growth does come through, but King, he's still well and truly alive, going so aggressive. Assault and battery onto him, though. He just gets exploded here in the backline. Soul Strikes, he has to get out. Avant, they're turning it around as Perfections. He's got the Black Shield. Doesn't last long, though, against Kensty. And 2 dead for Direwolves. Avant still very strong. And Perfections, you got to watch out, man.
But that was another fight, Atlas, where Perfection didn't have the slicing Maelstrom available. It just came up after 2 members were already dead. Wait the cooldown out, then make the aggressive move. You've already got everything working for you. 5 dragons, Baron buff. Don't necessarily have to push off more than you can chew when you're in a situation like that.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. And 6,000 gold now the lead for Direwolves, and maybe they just think that they're further ahead than they actually are.
They're far ahead, and they definitely have the better team fighting comp, but you have to respect the Assault and Battery and the Nidalee damage specifically. They didn't. King fell down, and we already mentioned that it's only AoE burst from there. They don't have consistent damage. King needs to live, and they didn't fulfill that objective.
Yeah, it's a good point. 40 minutes into this game, items are going to become irrelevant, fairly soon. Mercurial Scimitar, the only real option here for King to augment his damage any further, and then he's going to stagnate. Sharp, he only needs to pick up a death cap, and he has every item that he'll ever need.
Maz, though, is the one who's super struggling. Still only 2 items into his build. Sitting on 975 gold, so might pick up a pickaxe towards either an Infinity Edge or just finishing the last Whisper. But Maz's damage, unfortunately, compared to King, is just really, really apparent.
It really isn't. 110 CS behind here as well. King, again, doing an incredible farming performance.
And this wasn't the case in the first game of the day. It's a redemption story for King to some degree after being out-farmed and out-rotated by Moon in that game. And this game, though, on a champion like Kalista, the hyper carries just seem to suit him so much better. On the Cork, he struggled. But moving to Kalista, excellent play.
Oh, Sharp might be caught out here as well. Black Shield really, really nicely done. Perfection's going to slicingly Maelstrom himself as he's going to just get McHale's at the same time. Avant-Garde, they throw everything out, but no one's dead.
Okay, but the Soul Shackle's still available, and King is alive. Except to see the Janna's using the heal for a bit of sustain, resetting some of those health bars. The re-engage might be coming soon.
Yeah, the inhibitor now under fire here as well, as King just does so much damage, dancing around it. They are going to be able to pick it up eventually, but it's going to be replaced by the one in the mid lane. Missouri has to be very careful with his positioning. But in the end, he is going to be okay. Kensty now going to clear out this mid lane. And Avant, it's pretty much the same situation now.
It was smart from Direwolves, though. With the Assault and Battery and the Frozen Tomb not available, no other initiation options really on the Avant side. So re-engage. They still had Soul Shackles if there was a huge dive coming through from Avant. And they managed to take down that inhibitor.
Oh, Kensty looking for King here as well. He's hunting him. There's the flash into the pounce. Takedown doesn't quite do it. Spear doesn't land. And Kensty somehow manages to still pick up the kill.
Yeah, it was actually looking like there might be the turnaround from King, even though on such low health values with the high lifesteal. Sharp couldn't get in range for the Black Shield. And now suddenly pressure on Direwolves as Avant, 5 members strong, threatening towards the Baron. It comes up in 28 seconds, still 45 till King respawns.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. When it's you know, minute-long death timers here. Direwolves, this is their crown jewel that has just fallen down now as well. Soul Strikes might be in trouble here. Spear doesn't find him. The rest of the members of Direwolves are forced to disperse. They were thinking of making a play, but my goodness, that Dark Binding was absolutely insane. Sharp still finds the stun onto Kensti, but Wild Growth is there. Soul Strikes has to be careful there on the backside. It's a 5 versus 4. Assault and Battery onto Sharp. Nice Sonias, and Perfections gets destroyed by Porky. Chuffa so incredibly low, but Avant somehow still managing to turn around these fights. But I mean, I don't know why Direwolves really went for it without King on the map.
And I feel like I'm beating a broken record, but once again, no Slicing Maelstrom available. This cooldown has not been up for crucial fights multiple times. Critically, though, Soul Strikes is available. He is alive. They don't have wards, though, so it might be an unanswered Baron to Avant.
Yeah, and Baron going to fall down at exactly the right time here as well for Avant. They have the empowered recalls, they pick it up, and they're going to be so much better off defending their base now.
Absolutely. It's going to be, with the super minions, the Baron buff minions coming through, going to match the super minions and stop any big global push coming into their base. However, the 5th dragon is probably going to be reclaimed for a second time.
And you have to think as well, I mean, the Avant lineup are looking so much better than they were at the start of the season. Coming out of week 3, 2 and 4, not exactly sort of the finals performance we were expecting. And after the roster swaps, everything a bit difficult. But 5th Dragon again going to be picked up by the Direwolves. Of course, theoretically the 6th.
It does apply to King, who has respawns.
Yep.
So everyone gets that buff. Global pressure is being relieved with the Baron buff minions. But you have to worry that when a fight hits, if King isn't checked, he'll still be able to carry this game.
Yeah, that's true. Chelby, he's finished the Trinity Force here as well. More of Malmortius is going to be the next option, unless he's going to go for a Last Whisper. Interesting decisions to come through, but this Vi is definitely doing some damage.
I mean, everybody's doing damage. There's no true frontline tanks on either team. I'll pay Soul Strikes, I'll pay credit to him. He has built exclusively tank after the Warrior and Chad, but Chelby, he's always going to get guaranteed damage onto King. That's the big consideration. It's always going to be the Vault Breaker, a Trinity Force proc, and probably one of his...
oh my goodness.
You see a lot of damage coming through. One of his E's coming through. So he's going to be able to do damage to chunk down. King is just looking for his team, whether it's Kensti landing a hook, whether it's Porky diving the backline with him, to finish off King. They might need damage more than tankiness, because if King doesn't die at the start of a fight, they're going to lose that fight.
Perfections loses half of his health here as well. Second inhibitor going to fall down, but Porky goes aggressive, dies immediately. Frozen Tomb did manage to go off, but Perfection somehow survives. The members of Avant are getting destroyed in this one. Kensti's alive, so's Johnny, but not for too long, you have to think, as King. He's going to get Mikhails, he's going to get every shield under the sun, and Kensti is going to get some death.
The one fight that was actually initiated on Avant's terms goes to Direwolves, because that time Perfection able to activate the Slicing Maelstrom, go into stasis. The AoE stun was massive. King lived, and GG well played to the Direwolves.
Yeah, beautifully played from the Direwolves. It was a wonderful performance, but Avant showing a whole lot more power than they had at the beginning of the season. Of course, I'd begun that thought, but Avant still looking okay, but unfortunately unable to topple our second place team.
And Direwolves just got so many advantages in the early game that the Siege comp never got to Siege. That's the issue. We never saw a situation where Direwolves was sitting under a turret, forced to engage against Nidalee Spears, against Corki Rockets. That just never happened. And the game played on Direwolves' terms. They were going to win it sooner or later. It went sooner. Avant played smart. But at the end of the day, Direwolves took it down.
They certainly did. But ladies and gentlemen, we do have a replay for you, so let's bring it up on your screen and just see how Direwolves managed to finish off this match.
Absolutely. So just watching here, I mean, the difference between a one-team fight for Direwolves and a lost team fight was King. But specifically, they weren't playing around the Slicing Maelstrom intelligently, and Perfection wasn't able to get that cooldown down consistently. But we'll play the fight. This is the last fight of the game. Perfection's chunked down, and we actually see Porky going aggressive, but this time the Slicing Maelstrom, the peeling effects were so important. Both Chelby and Porky's positioning were completely shut off by the Slicing Maelstrom, and then King dances around, picks up a 3rd kill, and from here, Direwolves were able to win the game.
And you can just see King just with every single shield just unhindered there. He had so much. That was like 3,500 health worth of shields, and of course his base health as well. Absolutely ridiculous. But ladies and gentlemen, we still have one more matchup for you tonight. Fornot is going to be taking on Avant Garde and Fortnite. Let's see whether they can continue the hype train running after this short break.